Hi, this is Timmy Thomas, the originator of Why Can't We Live Together in 1973, a part of Drake's Hotline Bling 2015. You are watching right now Nardwuar's Video Vault.
Nardwuar. 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 Nardwuar.
Who are you?
I'm Timmy Thomas, the person that had written tune years ago in 1973. Maybe some of our young people were not born then, but they remember the message of what I had about why can't we all live together in this world, and what has happened. And I'm so honored that Drake from Hotline Bling has brought Timmy Thomas back, because all the kids love that music. They said, who wrote that music? Everybody saying, that's Timmy Thomas. When he said, now I've had the opportunity to come back, say some more good things, put our children on the right direction, and keep on stepping.
What can you say about Why Can't We Live Together? Because this particular record was sampled by Drake. Do you mention it?
Yeah, he didn't use the message or what I had on this, but he used the music, and that made it very interesting because everybody was into the music. Said, man, we love that. Drake could have used anybody's beats. He went all the way back to 1973, my time of my music life, and went over the Dre beats, the Snoop beats, all those, and from 2000 up to 2015, because he said your feel and the way you felt about it, even we didn't use the message, but the music was something about it, and they used it, and I was very proud of that.
How did you find out? From a relative?
Yes. How'd you know that? It's the truth. I had a brother call me and said, Timmy, my son, not him because he's about my age, he said, my son said he heard your record on the radio. I said, no record? I don't have a record. He said, well, it's Drake. I said, Drake who? But now, remember now, this is the hip-hop rapping era now, and I had no idea about any of them. I had no idea about the names. I don't listen to it, which I started listening to it because I found out I can communicate a lot more with my granddaughters and stuff, knowing what's happening in the world. Then I get another call. Timmy, Drake is using your... I knew who Drake was then after I went on the computer. So I heard it. I said, let me listen to this. No, it was the whole track of my original. They didn't cover it. They didn't take some lot of other musicians and play it and cover the song. He used the original Timmy Thomas. I said, you're kidding. He said, Granddaddy, get ready. So I was in the gym the next day, getting myself together, so I knew I would have to go out here after that, and then I met Tom and some other people, Yan and all of them that were at least making me feel real good, to give me a shot to go out and say something, because we need this song more now than I did it in 1973.
What is the genesis of Why Can't We Live Together? Timmy's Lounge, improvised?
Yeah, no, let me tell you, it's very short. A gentleman named Walter Cronkite used to be on CBS News. He's passed away. And I was writing something. I was teaching then. I was writing something, and he came on and said, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. These are his exact words. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. 35,000 Viet Cong died today, 15,000 Americans. This was during the Vietnam War. I said, what? These are mothers' children dying on the battlefield for something that we can't come to the table and sit at the welcome table and talk about and make this thing some kind of way where we don't have to hurt each other. Those mothers will never see their children again. Then I said, why can't we live together? Ding! Light bulb went off in my head. I got my pencil. Why can't we live together? I looked at Walter Cronkite and said, no more wars, because I thought about what he had just said. We want peace in this world. And the most important, when I saw the difference of race, color, and creed, no matter what color, you're still my brother. And that's the way when they were playing a local artist then, and when one of my friends played it, phones lit up, everything. They said, Timmy, you got a hit here, man. I had one little cassette in the back of my trunk of my car. You know, he said, whose floor is it on? Is somebody sell this vinyl? I said, no, I don't have it. He said, what you got? I said, just got this little cassette. He said, oh, God, man, you're going to miss out on everything. Everybody wants to grab this thing. So that's when I went to Henry Stone and with TK, what Casey and the Sunshine Band is, and Clarence and all of them. So you notice, Nord, I didn't use it as a statement, not a declaration sentence. I use it as a question. Everybody has an answer. Everybody. I could line up 10 people right here and say, what's your version? Why do you think we can't live together? They'll tell you something. Then the next one will tell you, we need to stop this. We need to go in the community and do this. We need to, and that's the reason. And what it started doing is it started getting some discussion out there. And that's the reason that song was so big, I believe. You know.
How does Drake's lyrics differ from your lyrics?
Well, I had to. Well, my granddaughter said, "Dad, you need a dictionary to understand some of this rap." You know, what it means. He was talking on the phone, probably to his girlfriend or something. I kept listening to see what he's saying, and he was saying, "Call me on my cell phone." So I said, "What's he mean by that?" Let me know where you are and things like that. I said, "Oh, that was his story." But what I think happened was, even though he did not use my message, he used enough of my track for people to remember. Even the older people bought it. They said, "Timmy, this is definitely you, man," and it's just another message on it about it, and he made it one-on-one with a lady and a man, and that was fine, because that's what's happening now. I would never change. And also, I wouldn't be able to sell Why Can't We Do Together the way I did it in '73 with the same message. They've heard that. They say, okay, yeah, we heard that. You know, that's 40-some years old, you know. But they used the music, Drake, and then put his message in there with the younger kids. Whoa, we love this. What is this? He said, that's Timmy Thomas. You weren't even born when he did that song. That was 1973, 72, really, 72, 73. So that's what happened, and I wasn't heard over his message. His message is in the realm of what's happening with today's youth. And I listened to it very closely to make sure that it wasn't as profane as I've heard some of the rap. You know, I love some of it. Some of it's good, but when it gets real profane like that, I tend to say, and I had a tendency then, I kept listening for the real four-letter words, and I didn't hear it. I said, wow, I love this song, you know, and it was, like I said, history after that. Again, in 44 years now.
When you showed up in Chicago, people didn't believe it was you.
No, they did. No, they didn't. I'm a one-man band, by the way, so you'll know. On Why Can't We Do Together, I had a Lowry organ. On that organ, there was a rhythm. About 12 sets of different rhythms. Bossa Nova, samba, you know, etc. And also, I could punch something in on the bottom of it. I could play those rhythms along with the automatic. My left foot, I played bass. My right hand, I played the guitar part. I punched the rhythm automatically. My right hand, I played the organ part. And he put a boom mic in front of me, and I sang it all at one time. The funniest thing about being in the studio that day was when I finished, I looked up to see the engineer, and he was, oh, excuse me, are you finished? Because he didn't have anything to do. He didn't have any selections to do. He said, are you finished, Tim? I said, yes, I'm finished. I said, that's funny. So I had to keep that story for later on. I said, because you would know what really happened. But I did it as a one-man band, and went to South Africa. It took me 38 countries and 48 little states.
Drake was not the first person to sample Why Can't We Live Together.
Well, you know, I don't know a lot about the sampling, but I know a lot about the covers. Like Santana covered it, Sade covered it, Steve Winwood, Kyle Eastwood, Clint Eastwood's son. Kyle Eastwood even did it, you know. And
do you have a favorite version?
Sade really, really put her heart in it. And then I watched when she sang it at the International Jazz Festival, where they would have things in Germany, I believe. And the way she walked out on stage and she raised her hands and said, why can't we all live together? And this big boom, it was so loud you had to hold your ears. And that, you know, that kind of teared me up a little bit. I said, wow, she knows what I'm trying to do here, you know? And the other one was when I had the opportunity to go to South Africa in 1974. Now, this is not, I was the first black person to play in Soweto. I was the first American, because nobody else would go because of the apartheid, which means division of races. I didn't know anything about that either. In my history books, they talked about diamonds, gold. They didn't go down and say, oh, by the way, they have division of races, apartheid, and this and that. So I never knew it. I'm on my way to a country that a lot of people wouldn't go because they were afraid something might happen, was black or white, And all of a sudden, here I'm on the plane alone, have the pilot stop on the tarmac and says, we have a Timmy Thomas in here? I said, yes. He said, we're going to stop here because you have so many people waiting on you in the airport on Jan Smuts that we're going to have to drive you from here to there. I learned how to say hello, good morning and hello in Zulu and Xhosa. And the people even on the plane, I was the only African-American on the plane. And they said, I wonder where he's going. Where would he be going? And I was going to Soweto to do a show because they figured, why can't we live together with maybe make people think this is the way the world should be, and let's all come together, Dr. Nelson Mandela was incarcerated during that time, 1974. I went back in 1978 and did another major concert, but this one was on the fringe of Johannesburg and Soweto. It was the first one ever in the history of South Africa where blacks and whites could come together, and they did, and it was a super big one. And when I saw that, again, Dr. Mandela was incarcerated, still in jail. In the 90s, when he came out, in the 80s, I think, when he came out, excuse me, he and Prime Minister de Klerk saw the changes. And you got to remember, the only permanent thing in this world is change. I don't care what you do, the world's going to keep moving. And then hope that you're going to be a part of it instead of just lag and try to pull it back. He called the record company and said, Dr. Mandela said he wants Timmy Thomas's Why Can't We Live Together to be the theme of the elections. So they called me. I said, hey, he said, get to the airport. I said, what's happening? They said, your ticket is at the counter. I said, for what? Dr. Mandela has made Why Can't We Live Together the theme, so you have to be here to do all the radio and television shows and everything. I saw the lines. No, I had never in my life seen so many lines of people all up around mountains and everything in line to vote for the first time in their lives, I said, wow. And then I had a chance. Now, here's what's ironic about it. I never met him in South Africa because he was always incarcerated. This time I couldn't because he had too many people around him. I met him in Miami when he came to speak, and I took my gold record, which I got a gold record from there. And it was never played on national radio because of the contents of the record. And I took it off my wall, the gold record, and said, I'm going to present this to Dr. Mandela. But I couldn't get to him here either because he's with people. He said, you're sorry, Timmy. The greatest thing about all of that is I have a lot of gold records on my wall, and all of them are tinted with gold. The one that I got from South Africa, it takes two of us to hold it. That's how much gold it is. So in the event that I have a little rough times and everything, I'm going to Joe's pawn shop and see if it would be so much money I'll have to take a wheelbarrow to bring it in because that's real gold on there, and I appreciate that, what they did. So that's one of the stories I know it's a little long, but I want you to know that.
Jimmy Fallon doing a Bob Dylan doing
Hotline Bling.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just listen to that today. In fact, that's great. Now that's an honor. That's a major honor. If people would think about these things positively and not think about the fact that, man, I don't want anyone doing my music, and I don't like that type of music. No, that's not the reason. They are doing that music because that's what's in the realm of what's happening in the world today. The world today, and I'm happy about that. I'm remembered more now than ever. They're bringing me back from 1973. A lot of these kids were not even blinking their eye in '73. Now they're saying, "Who's this Timmy Thomas?" I said, "My God." Then they meet me. Then they want to come out and see me. And then they hear me do Why Can't We Together, and they hear the same rhythm. They say, that's Drake's song. They said, no, it's not. That's Timmy Thomas's song. Drake did Timmy Thomas's song. They said, oh. So now maybe I'll get a bigger, younger crowd to listen now to some of the things that we're trying to say and maybe put them in process, hopefully.
What would you, Timmy Thomas, like to say to Drake?
Okay. Well, the first thing I'd like to say is I appreciate the fact that you used my first original track. No cover. You never used any of that. And I also appreciate the fact that I heard some of the comments where you're saying, well, I think it was Productions 85, where they said we used Timmy Thomas's version of that first one, and everybody in the room said, man, that's it. That's the one. Then they listened to a lot of other beats. So that, number two, that made me feel good, to be able to talk to artists that were not even born that can relate to that type of feel from 1973. That's number two. Number three, I appreciate the fact that people love him so much. You have a whole country that in Canada that loves him. You know, I mean, he can't do any wrong. You know, and then you got all those people that are now listening again, which was number one in Canada with 73. Now it's number one in Canada with Hotline Bling, which is not the message but the music. So I just want to say to him from the bottom of my heart, thanks a million. Music, Drake, and you and the music crew.
What do you have as a message for the other people that covered or sampled Hotline Bling? Any message for them?
Well, yeah, it makes me feel good because it gives me an opportunity to be able to get my grandkids through college, which is going to be wonderful, you know. And I saw some of the people that were doing it. Even Justin Bieber did what's called of it. What's the name is thinking about doing it? The one that does Hello Adele. Yes. And you got a lot of people out there. Every time I turn the internet on, someone else is doing it. Then the little funny things from Saturday Night Live, and although even had the president doing it. You know, everybody was singing it, and then they were talking about Drake's dancing, and I laughed, and my wife said, why are you laughing? I said, because look at Drake and think about me dancing in 73. She said, oh my God, you look just like him. So I didn't feel bad. Everybody said, well, Drake, you can't dance. I said, well, Timmy Thomas, when he did it, he couldn't dance either, you know. So, but I really appreciate everybody doing it. Sam Smith and Disclosure, they did a super copy of it. Erykah Badu, which is really going up the charts, her version of it. But what made me feel good about everybody's version, they used my original track. Never changed it, never changed the beat and everything. And I'm very proud about that. You know, it's gonna help me out in a lot of ways that I never thought possible at this time of my life. And I'm very happy about it.
Timmy Thomas, what can you say about organ battles with James Brown?
Well, it's a little funny story. I hope we got time for this, but I was with James Brown back in 77, 78. And James and Henry Stone, who was head of TK at that time, same company, had Case and the Sunshine Band, Nita Ward Rang My Bell, Betty Wright, you know, and Clarence Reed, you know. And he called and said, Henry, who do you have that's anybody up close on the chart? He said, I got Timmy Thomas, number one. He said, that's your artist? He said, yeah. He said, send him to L.A. I want him to open my shows. Well, he had a lot of hits. I had just one. And he said, send him to California. So I was at the Felt Forum doing Walking Together in Front. So I hadn't met him yet. And his manager said, Timmy, James wants to meet you. I go in this room and I see James sitting in this chair. It wasn't a king's throne or nothing, but it just looked like he was a little different from everybody else. And I had seen his picture too. So I said, Mr. Brown, he said, Timmy Thomas, how you doing, man? That's the way he talked, you know. He talked like he sang, you know. And I said, it's an honor, Mr. Brown, you know. He said, I like your record, man. I maybe want to do it with you on the stage. I said to him, oh my God, I hope he knows the versions and the rhythms and the chord structure, you know. And I had that big afro, I'll never forget. I had a nice big, we were wearing them that big years ago. And as I was leaving the room, he said, oh, by the way, Timmy Thomas. I said, yes, sir. He said, get your hair cut. I said, excuse me? Get your hair cut. In other words, where his was sitting, probably beautiful, and James had a beautiful, we call him pompadour during those days, you know. He said he probably didn't want anyone else to look as good as he looked on their head when he came on stage. I was playing, everybody was into it. Then I heard this tweet. I said, that's an organ. I looked back, James was back there with his group playing organ with me, you know. So that was something that I would remember also, you know, because he knew the song. He must have been listening to it. So I've got some stories. I could write a book.
Let's bring Tom up here right now. There is Tom. Tom from Overtown. What did it say about Tom?
Yes. Oh, they're doing an excellent job. I saw his tribute last night, which was excellent for Blowfly. Tonight I'm going to do one of Clarence Reed. His Clarence alter ego was Blowfly. But most of the time that I knew him as Clarence Reed, because he was writing a whole lot of those hits at TK Production, you know.
Hello, Tom.
Hello, Nardwuar. It is a shame that this is the record you brought because Mr. Timmy Thomas is actually the organist on the Blowfly Zodiac album. The whole thing, as much as he would like to deny it, his name is on the record with Benny Lattimore and everybody else. But he's probably on this record too because the way Timmy likes to say it is that, he would get the rhythm tracks and he didn't know what they were for. But, something tells me that 90-second versions of My Girl weren't on everyone's record. Just a guess.
So, Timmy, what can you say about the Blowfly Timmy Thomas connection?
Well, I think what Tom is really saying, because I never heard any of the lyrics, but I never did, and I didn't know Blowfly that well. I knew Clarence Reed from the beginning up all through, with the Betty Wright, Clean Up Woman, and all those things. And this came as an alter ego from Clarence as later on in his life. And he began to do that. Then I started hearing about it, and I said, wow. And it was getting bigger and bigger. And then Blowfly was getting bigger than Clarence Reed's name. That's the way it was happening out there, So that was the history behind the Blowfly. What I knew about it, of course, I heard some of the lyrics later, and I just didn't appreciate the lyrics too much. But then I listened to him, and I listened to the parody he had on some of the hit songs, which helped those artists, by the way. We doing tracks for some of those hit artists. So either way, it was going fine because you had an audience out there for Blowfly.
And Blowfly used to phone you up?
Like I said, I knew him as Clarence Reed. He used to leave some nice messages on the phone that when my wife would come, I would delete them before she listened to them, But he was the kind of guy that you just, no matter what he said, the smile had to come on your face, man, because that's what you were going to hear each time he called you, that same message. This is Blowfly, the baddest in the world. Give me a call. Next time, ring, ring. This is Blowfly, the baddest in the world. Give me a call. Next one. One time he called and I saw my wife pushing for the message. I said, oh God. She said, what? What did he say? I said, that wasn't him. That's somebody that's playing on the phone. I don't know who that was, I had to say that. That's a Clarence. Next time you call, man, don't do that. I just say, Timmy, call me, But he was the kind of guy that kept a smile on your face. Everything he did it with a smile.
Timmy Thomas, what exactly are you doing now? How does Overtown Records play into things?
Well, when this Drake situation happened, before I answer that, Nord, are you from Canada?
From Vancouver, BC.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for Drake and thank you for you. One of the records off of my first album, the one you had, was called Opportunity. This all came about from Drake, and I'm not going to fuss around with that. If it were not for Drake and the things that he had done with Hotline Bling, you wouldn't hear Timmy Thomas anymore coming back. I'd been teaching school. I'd been teaching in higher education. I had the Timmy's Lounge. I was doing where I could pay the bills. I could make sure my grandkids went to college and things like that. Barely after I do all of that, but still I was in there no matter what. Played for the churches, ministered music, still made a little piece of change there, put that on there and put that on the paying the bills. But the major thing was the Hotline Bling. And when I heard about it and listened to it, I said, wow, that's my thing. He said, no, it's your sample. Tommy said, it's a sample, but it's a sample of your original song.
So, Tom, Overtown Records.
Overtown Records is a label dedicated to the spirit of Clarence Reed. Clarence Reed lived in Overtown, and what most people don't know if you're not from South Florida is Overtown was the Harlem Renaissance of the South. You had all these entertainers who would come and play Miami Beach, but Miami was not always the world city it is today. It was a redneck, cracker, nasty town politically, and folks like Timmy were not allowed on the Miami Beach stage after dark. You had to have a working permit, and if you didn't have that, that was your ass. So and then the entertainers, such as say James Brown, they could go play the Jackie Gleason Theater, but they had to be off. They couldn't stay there, and they would stay at a place called the Sir John Hotel, and they had a club called the Night Beat, and there was many clubs like that, and Timmy came up in those clubs, and Clarence was those clubs, because every talent, Sam and Dave, he would meet people like that at those clubs, and he would write their songs, because Clarence he basically was music.
So lastly, Tom, tell me about Overtown Records.
We have the people who made the records in the first place. We have people who wrote records for the first place, including Blowfly's protege, Mike Cleette, who is songwriting for us just in the old days. We have artists such as Mark Lockett, who you may recall from the Weird World of Blowfly movie and Fahrenheit 69 and 77 Rusty Trombones. You may recall several people when you look at our roster at overtownrecords.com or at Facebook, Overtown Records. The bottom line is, it's the real deal. Miami sound is the soul music of the United States, and it's been sampled so much by hip hop, you cannot deny it. You know what? Sure, you have your Motor City. Sure, you have your P-Funk, but we are part of the equation, and more records were sold from Miami. Sorry, a fact.
Well, thank you very much, Tom. Thank you for bringing Timmy Thomas and Doot-a-Lutu. Well, thank you, Timmy Thomas. I do want to go back to the early days. Philip and the Faithfuls and Dixie and C.
Oh, that's a story. Oh, I know you're talking about the Marquis then. I'll never forget it. And we were in Mississippi. And this was during the turmoil days, when James Meredith was the first person, African-American, to go to the University of Mississippi. And one of the fraternities asked the Marquis to come down. So they picked up the phone. Wayne Jackson, Timmy, the organ player can't make it. Can you make this one with us? I said, okay. So we were driving, and when we got to the city limits, we almost had another policeman to escort us to the building. I said to myself, oh my God, because I was the only African-American in the band. I played sitting in the front, and I saw this guy with what we call a Texas Fifth. I'm sure you all know what that is. It's a real big thing of whiskey that you can't hold. You put it in a little thing and you push it over like that and pour it. They call it a Texas Fifth. And I kept seeing him drink it. So every time he would drink it, he'd come to the front and say, hey, you're part of the band. Do y'all know Dixie? So Wayne Jackson said, no, we don't. We know the national anthem. You know, so he went back and sat down. He poured him another drink. He came back. Said, y'all know Dixie? Andrew Love, the saxophonist, said, man, didn't Wayne just tell you that we don't know anything about no Dixie? We don't know that song. We know the Star Spangled Banner. He wanted us to play that, which included everybody in America. The last time he came up, I never forget it. He came up and said, you all know Dixie? I said, no. He said, see that sign up there? We turned around and looked. There was a big old hole in one of those Bush Bavarian signs, a beer sign. He said, the last band that did not know Dixie, I shot at him, but I missed, but I hit that sign up there. Know what? I turned around and looked at Wayne Jackson. Dixie NC. Dun, 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 dun. We started playing. We must have played it for 10 minutes, you know. But Wayne Jackson said, man, I said, don't stop. Then the man shook his head like I said, phew.
Well, thanks very much, Timmy Thomas. Keep on rocking in the free world and doot-doodle-doo.
Dum-dum.
Yeah.
That's you that comes next. I don't know. That's it. Is that it? Was it? Right. Okay.